think we all want to be hopeful, right? Hopefulness is a good feeling. But a lot of things do destroy our hope. And I think one of the big ones is loneliness. Thank you. There's a big difference, I think, between loneliness and being alone. How many of you like to have a little solitary time away from the craziness of life? Oh, yeah. That is aloneness. Not to be confused with loneliness. Loneliness is that feeling of being kind of disconnected and kind of not wanted and kind of not fitting in. And for those of us who have been there, it's a pretty hopeless kind of feeling. Statistics in the United States say that 1 in 4 Americans have no one to talk to. 1 in 4. And if you take out the family, it goes to 1 in 2. That means 50% of the people in America feel like besides someone in their family, they have no one to talk to. That is pretty lonely. They call it social isolation, and it's really on the increase in America. More and more people feeling very, very lonely. And what's happening is that people are just kind of wandering, and they're not really connected in any way. They're not connected physically to people. They're not connected emotionally to people. They're not connected spiritually. And it can be a very lonely walk. Why is it? I don't know. People blame it on a lot of things. They say it's technology, it's distancing us. They say that people commute so much to work that they don't really talk to each other anymore. A lot of people say that maybe it's because of the families. There used to be everybody sitting around the table and all that, but not so much anymore. We have most families are two career parents. We have a lot of single parent homes, not so much time, not so much opportunity to make the connections. And in our postmodern society, where everybody has that autonomy, that we're so proud of being independent and we're so proud of being on our own and we're climbing the ladder of success. But a lot of times you climb the ladder of success and you find out at the top, it's just pretty lonely. The good news is that Jesus offers us hope for our loneliness. First, he promises that he will never leave us and never forsake us. But he also understands that sometimes we need to look somebody in the eye and know they get it. Sometimes we need to know that somebody's really listening with their ears. And I think he knows that there's nothing to replace the value of a hug. And so on the very last night that he was on earth, he prayed for his disciples. But he prayed for us. He prayed for all of us who are in this room. And he prayed that we wouldn't be lonely. In John 17, Jesus prays, "I do not pray for these only," talking about his disciples. He says, "but also for those who believe in me through their word, that they may be" what? One. Now, can you be very lonely when you're one? He was praying for us because he didn't want us to be lonely. He didn't want us to feel hopelessly alone. So how do we fight it? Remember we talked last night, we got to find ways to fight. Satan is trying to get us apart from Jesus and apart from each other. How do we fight? Let me give you a couple suggestions. I think that one of the hardest times is that sometimes we have expectations for other people, and when they don't meet our expectations, we back away. Now, I think this is one of the biggest reasons people leave the church. Any church, because they've been hurt and they back away. what I'd like to challenge you is to choose consciously to regroup instead of retreat. There is something that can be done, and you can do it. Second thing is, so often we focus so much on ourselves, and we forget about other people hurting too. Remind yourself that others are fragile and easily bruised too. Give people a chance. Now, I know you can be shy. You may not believe it, but I can be pretty shy too. And sometimes we expect for other people to do things for us first. For someone to go out of their way for us first. But I'd like to challenge you. You take the initiative. You reach out. A smile doesn't cost anything. And all of us can give it. Sometimes I think we worry about what will we say? What will we say when we talk to people? Well, you know, what's really important is not so much what you say, but how you listen. Ask questions. Listen to other people. It's not really all about you. Everyone deserves a good listening. The contrast of what we want and what we have can make us feel pretty isolated. But I want you to remember that acceptance and trust takes time. And it takes time on both ends. You don't trust immediately. Why should you expect someone else to? And then remember that God said he would never leave you or forsake you. Remember that? And remember that he said that he was praying for us that we could all be one? Ask him to guide you in your friendships. Ask him to guide you in the people you reach out to. He can see things you can't see. And he doesn't want you to be lonely. You know, I think that sometimes, like wolves that circle the flock and separate one of the sheep away from the flock, Satan works like that way to isolate us. Because he knows that if he can isolate us, to bring us to that place of hopeless loneliness, his job's pretty much done. We have to choose to find ways to fight the loneliness and to be hopeful about it. What's really nice to know is that God has promised to help us. He says in Isaiah, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, and I will help you." Loneliness. Let's walk away from it and walk towards the light.